The morning sun rose over New Haven's medical outpost, casting long shadows across the white buildings marked with the Universal Medical Cross. Dr. Susan Martinez stood at the window of her office, watching as 3 different species walked or shuffled into the main entrance. After 5 years on this colony world, the sight still made her smile. "Doctor, your first patient is ready," said Nancy White, her head nurse, from the doorway. The young nurse's blonde hair was tied back neatly under her medical cap, her blue eyes bright with the energy of the new day. Susan nodded and picked up her tablet. Her first patient was a young Zinri child, their scaled skin showing signs of a common colony fever. As she walked through the corridors, she greeted other staff members, both human and alien. The medical outpost had grown from a simple emergency clinic to a full hospital serving 17 different species. The morning passed quickly. Susan treated colonists with everything from broken bones to alien flu strains. She had just finished lunch when the first alarm sounded. At first, she thought it was a drill. They had one every month to stay prepared, but the sound was different this time. "Unknown ships entering orbit," announced the colony's AI system. Multiple vessels of Krathak design detected. Susan's blood ran cold. Everyone knew about the Krathak. They were a warrior species who believed that healing the sick made species weak. They thought that only the strong should survive. "Begin evacuation procedures," Susan ordered through the hospital's communication system. "All mobile patients to underground shelters. Critical care patients to the emergency transporters." The hospital burst into action. Doctors, nurses, and support staff moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this, even if they never thought it would happen. The Krathak had never attacked a medical facility before. Through the windows, Susan saw the first signs of the attack. Dark shapes moved across the sky, blocking out the sun. The colony's defensive shields flickered to life, creating a shimmering dome overhead. "Dr. Martinez," shouted John Baker, one of her junior doctors. "The pediatric ward is having trouble with their evacuation. Some of the life support units aren't disconnecting properly." Susan ran toward the children's wing, her heart pounding. The first explosions rocked the building as she reached the ward. Inside, she found nurses struggling with the complex alien life support systems that kept 3 young patients alive. "The backup power units," she said, moving to help. "We need to switch them all at once." The building shook again. Outside the windows, she could see Krathak dropships landing in the hospital's garden. Their angular black shapes looked like giant predatory insects. "They're inside the building," someone shouted from the hallway. "They're shooting everyone." Susan worked faster. She could hear weapons fire now, getting closer. The sound of energy weapons mixed with screams and the crash of breaking equipment. "Almost there," she muttered, her fingers flying over the controls. Just a few more seconds. The door to the ward burst open. A Krathak warrior stood there, nearly 7 feet tall, their armor covered in spikes, and their 4 eyes glowing with hatred. Susan placed herself between the warrior and the children. "This is a medical facility," she said firmly. "These are children. We are protected under interstellar law." The Krathak made a sound like grinding metal, their version of laughter. "Laws protect the weak," they said in broken standard English. "Weak must die." Susan hit the final button on the life support system. Behind her, the children vanished in the blue light of the emergency transporters, safely beamed to the underground bunkers. She smiled at the Krathak. "We may heal the sick," she said, "but that doesn't make us weak." The Krathak raised their weapon. Susan stood her ground, thinking of all her patients, now safe below ground. Her last act was to activate her emergency beacon, broadcasting the attack to every Earth ship in range. She knew what would happen next. Earth would not let this attack go unanswered. The Krathak fired, and Dr. Susan Martinez fell, dying as she had lived, protecting those in her care. But her death would not be in vain. The signal was already racing through space, carrying news of the attack. Earth's response would shake the galaxy. Lieutenant Gregory Phillips sat at his communications station aboard the Earth Defense Force Space Station Horizon, his eyes heavy after 12 hours of monitoring routine traffic. The night shift was always quiet in this sector. He sipped his coffee and watched the usual merchant signals bounce across his screen. The emergency alert caught him mid-sip. Coffee splashed across his blue uniform as the station's AI highlighted an incoming distress signal. The signal strength was massive, broadcasting on all frequencies, something they only did in the worst situations. "Computer, decode priority signal," he ordered, his fingers moving across the holographic controls. The message began to play, and Gregory's face went pale. The first part was automated. Emergency Protocol Alpha. Medical Facility New Haven under attack. Hostile forces identified it as Krathak. Civilian casualties confirmed. Multiple breaches of Interstellar Medical Neutrality Act. Then came the part that made Gregory's hands shake. The actual recordings from the facility's security systems. He watched Dr. Susan Martinez evacuating patients, organizing her staff, saving lives until the very end. He saw the Krathak warriors shooting doctors who tried to surrender, destroying medical equipment, and burning whole wards. "Station Command, this is communications," Gregory said into his comlink, his voice steadier than he felt. "You need to see this now." Station Commander Alice Butler arrived within minutes. She was still wearing her exercise clothes, clearly pulled away from her morning workout. Her gray eyes narrowed as she watched the footage. "Send it to Earth Command immediately," she ordered. "Priority 1. Wake up every admiral if you have to." Gregory's fingers flew across the controls. As he worked, more data poured in from New Haven. The hospital's AI had continued broadcasting even after the building's destruction. It showed medical ships being shot down as they tried to escape. It showed Krathak warriors hunting through the corridors for hidden patients. But it also showed resistance. He saw Nurse Nancy White leading a group of children through maintenance tunnels to safety. He watched Dr. John Baker using medical equipment as improvised weapons to hold off the Krathak long enough for his patients to reach the bunkers. "Ma'am," Gregory called out. The signal includes data from the facility's long-term memory banks. Patient records, research data, everything they were working on. Commander Butler nodded. "Download it all. Earth Command will want every detail." The next transmission came from the colony's defense forces. They had arrived too late to save the hospital, but their cameras caught the Krathak ships leaving. One image was particularly clear. The alien ships had painted over their medical target symbols with trophies. "Those idiots," Commander Butler whispered. "They have no idea what they've just started." Gregory continued downloading data as more signals arrived. Underground bunkers reported in, listing survivors. Defense platforms provided tactical data about the Krathak fleet's movements. Each piece of information was another nail in the alien's coffin. "Signal from Earth Command," the station's AI announced. "Admiral Walsh is taking personal command of the response fleet." Gregory had served under Catherine Walsh before his station assignment. He remembered her reaction when pirates had once attacked a medical transport. Those pirates were still in maximum security detention. He almost felt sorry for the Krathak. Almost. The final piece of data from New Haven was Dr. Martinez's personal log. Her last entry was short. "They think healing makes us weak. They think mercy makes us soft. They're wrong. Earth remembers its healers. Earth protects its healers. And Earth avenges its healers." Gregory sent everything to Earth Command, adding his own report about signal strength and transmission methods. Then he stayed at his post, watching as military channels burst into life. Ships were being mobilized. Battle groups were forming. The largest fleet in Earth's history was about to prove exactly how much humanity valued its medical personnel. "Computer, replay Dr. Martinez's final transmission," he said softly. He would make sure her words were heard. The Krathak had attacked doctors and nurses, thinking they were targeting weakness. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Earth was going to war. Admiral Catherine Walsh stood at the window of Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva, watching ships gather in orbit. The fleet growing above Earth was unlike anything humanity had ever assembled. Over 300 warships, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight, formed patterns against the stars. "The Nightingale is ready, Admiral," said Commander Alan Ross, her chief of staff. He held a tablet showing the flagship's status. "All medical bay modifications are complete." Catherine nodded, her silver hair catching the light. She had ordered every ship in the fleet to expand their medical facilities. It was both practical and symbolic. They would need the extra medical space, but it also sent a message about Earth's priorities. "Show me the fleet status," she ordered, turning to face the command center's main display. The room buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the massive deployment. Hundreds of smaller screens showed ships' crews making final preparations. The display lit up with ship positions. Catherine had organized the fleet into divisions named after famous healers from Earth's history. The Pasteur Division would lead the initial strike. The Salk Division would protect their supply lines. The Curie Division would target Krathak supply bases. "Captain Steve Miller reports the Pasteur Division is ready," Alan said. "They've loaded the new shield modifications." Earth scientists had worked non-stop since the attack, adapting their shield technology to better protect against Krathak weapons. The modifications had been tested on smaller ships first, proving highly effective. "Message from the President," announced the command center's eye. The main screen switched to show the Earth government's leader. She looked tired but determined. "Admiral Walsh," the President said, "the Security Council has approved your battle plan. You have full authority to engage the Krathak forces and protect our medical facilities throughout human space. Good hunting." Catherine acknowledged the order, then turned back to her staff. "Send the launch signal," she commanded. "All ships to their designated positions." Above Earth, the fleet began to move. Ships formed into their divisions, their engines creating patterns of blue fire against the black of space. The Nightingale took the lead, its white hull marked with both medical symbols and weapon ports. "Message from the Medical Council," Alan reported. "They're transmitting the names of all medical personnel killed in the New Haven attack." "Display them," Catherine ordered softly. The names appeared on a side screen, starting with Dr. Susan Martinez. Each name represented someone who had died while trying to help others. Catherine memorized them all. The fleet moved past the moon, forming up for their faster-than-light jump. Earth's space traffic control cleared all civilian ships from their path. Everyone knew this was history in the making. "All divisions report ready," Alan announced. "Jump calculations complete. We can leave on your order." Catherine stepped onto the command platform. Screens showed her image being broadcast to every ship in the fleet. She looked at the faces of her crew, seeing the same determination she felt. "This is Admiral Walsh to all ships," she said. "The Krathak thought they could attack our healers without consequences. They thought that because we show mercy, we must be weak. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them that humanity's greatest strength is our ability to be both healers and warriors." She paused, looking at the list of names one more time. "For New Haven," she said, "for every doctor, nurse, and medic who died protecting their patients. For every healing hand struck down by those who worship only strength. Jump when ready." The fleet vanished in a flash of light, leaving Earth behind. In their wake, they left a message buoy broadcasting on all frequencies in every known language. "Earth protects its healers. Remember New Haven." The largest fleet in human history was on its way to war. The Krathak were about to learn that attacking Earth's medical personnel had been the worst mistake in their species' history. Commander Laura Bennett stood before the holographic display in the U.S. Nightingale Strategy Room. The three-dimensional map showed Krathak space in red and human territories in blue. Yellow dots marked the locations of medical facilities throughout the sector. "They're expecting us to attack here," she said, pointing to the border between their territories. "So we won't. We'll hit them where they feel safest." Around the table, The fleet's senior officers watched as she laid out her plan. It was unlike anything in Earth's military playbooks. It was also brilliant. Our hospital ships will be the bait, Laura explained, moving holographic ships across the map. The Krathak think medical ships are easy targets. They don't know about our modifications. Admiral Walsh nodded from her seat at the head of the table. The hospital ships have been secretly upgraded over the past week. Under their white hulls and medical symbols, they now carried some of the strongest weapons in the fleet. Won't they detect the weapons? Asked Captain Richard Cole, commander of the medical ship Hope. Laura smiled. No. Our scientists created a new type of shielding. It hides weapons but allows medical equipment signatures to show clearly. The Krathak will see exactly what they expect to see. Helpless medical ships. The plan was taking shape on the map. Hospital ships would appear to evacuate medical facilities near Krathak space. When the aliens attacked, they would find themselves facing ships that could both heal and fight. Meanwhile, Laura continued, our main battle groups will strike here, here, and here. 3 points lit up on the map, deep in Krathak territory. They keep their shipyards poorly defended. They think no one would dare attack them so far from the border. The room was silent as the officers studied the plan. It was risky, but it could work. More importantly, it would save lives. Every medical facility in the sector would be safer once the Krathak learned to fear attacking healers. There's more, Laura said. She zoomed in on a particular section of space. Our spies found something interesting. The Krathak have their own medical research stations, hidden on remote moons. They're ashamed of needing medical care. This revelation caused a stir around the table. The Krathak's hatred of medical personnel wasn't just cultural. It was covering up their own medical needs. We won't destroy their medical stations, Admiral Walsh declared. We'll protect them, just like we protect our own. Let's show them what real strength looks like. The planning continued for hours. Each ship received its orders. Each captain learned their part in the complex dance that would unfold across the sector. They would strike from multiple directions, using the Krathak's own prejudices against them. One last thing, Laura said as the meeting ended. She pressed a button, and the map showed thousands of small dots spreading through Krathak space. We're releasing medical nanobots into their territories. Not as weapons. These will cure common Krathak diseases. By the time they realize what's happening, millions of their people will have been helped. Admiral Walsh stood, looking at the completed battle plan. The Krathak think healing makes us weak, she said. Let's prove that healing can be the strongest weapon of all. We'll save their lives while we defeat their fleet. As the officers filed out, Laura stayed behind, making final adjustments to the plan. On her screen, she watched as the first hospital ships moved into position. The Krathak would expect them to be easy targets. Instead, they would learn why humans protected their healers so fiercely. The fleet was ready. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait for the Krathak to make their move. When they did, they would learn that humanity's greatest strength was not in its weapons, but in its determination to protect those who helped others. John Martinez watched his tactical display aboard the U.S. Nightingale. As both a former nurse and now a tactical officer, he understood better than most why this battle mattered. The hospital ship Hope drifted seemingly defenseless in space, broadcasting medical distress signals. Krathak ships approaching the Hope, he reported. 3 warships. Attack formation. They took the bait. Admiral Walsh nodded from her command chair. Begin recording. Let everyone see what happens when someone attacks our medical ships. The Krathak vessels moved closer, their black hulls bristling with weapons. They didn't bother hiding their approach. Why should they? They were attacking what they thought was a helpless hospital ship. They're in range, John said. Hope reports weapons lock. Signal the Hope, ordered Walsh. Execute storm protocol. On his screen, John watched as the Hope's outer hull plates shifted. Hidden weapon ports opened. The medical ship's innocent white surface transformed into a bristling array of Earth's most advanced weapons. "Krothax ships are trying to retreat," he reported with grim satisfaction. Too late. The Hope fired. Its first volley disabled the lead Krothax ship's engines. The second knocked out their weapons. The third cut through their communications, all without destroying the vessels or killing their crews. "Phase 1 complete," John announced. "All Krothax ships disabled. No casualties." Around them, similar scenes played out across the sector. Hospital ships revealed their hidden strength. Medical stations proved to be heavily armed fortresses. The Krothax found themselves facing an enemy that could hurt them badly but chose not to. "Begin Phase 2, Walsh commanded. "All ships, implement Healing Thunder." John relayed the order. Across Krothax space, Earth's fleet appeared from their hidden positions. They struck shipyards, weapons factories, and military bases, but they also dropped medical supplies to civilian populations and protected Krothax medical facilities. "Sir," John called out, "Krothax fleet approaching from Sector 7. 15 warships." This was the real test. The Hope had proven that medical ships could fight, but now they would show what Earth's full military could do. "Launch fighters," Walsh ordered. "Medical nanobots in all weapons. Remember, we're here to teach, not destroy." Earth's fighters swarmed from the Nightingale's launch bays. They engaged the Krothax ships with precision strikes, disabling weapons and engines while releasing clouds of healing nanobots. "Krothax ships are showing signs of confusion," John reported. "Their crews are experiencing the effects of the medical nanobots. Ancient diseases are being cured even as we fight them." The battle spread across 3 star systems. Earth's fleet moved with surgical precision, cutting away the Krothax military's ability to harm others while healing their people. It was a new kind of warfare, one that saved lives instead of taking them. "Message from the Hope," John announced. "They've begun treating wounded Krothax from the disabled ships. Some of them are asking questions about human medicine." Admiral Walsh smiled. "Send word to all ships. Continue the advance. Show them what real strength looks like." The Nightingale moved forward, its medical bays ready to receive wounded even as its weapons fired. John coordinated the fleet's movements, making sure each strike was precise and purposeful. "Krothax resistance is crumbling," he reported. "Their ships are standing down. Many are requesting medical assistance." The battle wasn't won with destruction, but with healing. Each disabled Krothax ship became a chance to demonstrate human medicine. Each conquered system received not just soldiers, but doctors. "Send the message again," Walsh ordered, "in their language on all frequencies." John transmitted the words that were becoming famous across space. "Earth protects its healers. Earth heals its enemies. This is true strength." The battle would be remembered not for its death toll, but for its mercy. Earth had proven that the power to heal was mightier than any weapon. Chief Medical Officer Daniel Wright stood in the U.S. Nightingale's main laboratory, studying genetic data from the Krothax prisoners. After 3 days of treating wounded enemy soldiers, he had noticed something strange in their blood work. Now he knew why the Krothax hated healers so much. "Admiral Walsh," he called through the ship's communication system. "I need you in the lab immediately. I found something important." The Admiral arrived minutes later, followed by Commander Laura Bennett. They found Daniel surrounded by floating holographic displays showing DNA structures and medical data. "Look at this," Daniel said, pointing to a glowing strand of DNA. "Every Krothax we've treated has the same genetic marker. It's a mutation that appeared in their species about 300 years ago." He touched the display, and the DNA strand spun, showing its flaws. "This mutation is killing them slowly. It weakens their bones, damages their organs, and shortens their lives. Their people are dying, and their own medical science couldn't find a cure." Admiral Walsh stepped closer to the display. "So they decided that getting medical help was weak, because they couldn't help themselves." "Exactly," Daniel said. "Rather than face their failure to find a cure, they turned against the whole idea of medical treatment. They decided that only the strong should survive, because they couldn't bear admitting they needed help. Laura studied the data with growing excitement. But our medical nanobots, they're already affecting this mutation, aren't they? Daniel nodded, bringing up new displays showing treated Krathak soldiers. The nanobots we used in battle were programmed to cure common diseases. By accident, they started repairing this genetic damage too. We've already cured several hundred Krathak without even knowing it. He moved to another display, showing a Krathak warrior before and after treatment. The difference was clear: healthier skin, stronger bones, better organ function. That's why some of them are asking questions about our medicine, Walsh said softly. They're feeling better for the first time in their lives. A noise from the doorway made them turn. A Krathak officer stood there, one of the prisoners they had taken in battle. His name was Kraz, and he had been watching their medical team's work. "Is this true?" Kraz asked, his voice rough with emotion. "You can fix the great sickness." Daniel walked over to him, showing him the medical scans. "We already have. Your genetic damage is healing. In a few days, you'll be completely cured." Kraz's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of deep emotion in his species. "Our greatest healers said this was impossible. They said we must reject weakness because we could not fix it. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask for help," Walsh said. "Real strength isn't about refusing aid. It's about using every tool you have to survive and thrive." Laura was already working at a computer terminal. "We can mass-produce the nanobots. We could cure your entire species within months." Kraz looked at the displays again, then at his own hands. "Our leaders must know this. Our people must know this. We have spent centuries hating healers because we could not bear our own failure." "Then let's tell them," Walsh said. "Together, let's show them that healing isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength of all." Daniel began preparing data packages about the cure. Around him, the lab buzzed with activity as medical staff worked to refine and improve the treatment. They had found more than just the cause of the Krathak's hatred. They had found a way to end it. The secret was out. The Krathak's fierce rejection of medical care wasn't about strength at all. It was about fear. Fear of their own vulnerability, fear of their mortality, fear of needing help. But now, Earth could offer them something stronger than fear. The U.S. Nightingale hung in orbit above the Krathak homeworld, its white hull gleaming in the light of 3 suns. Below, in the planet's capital city, something unprecedented was happening. Human doctors walked freely through the streets, working alongside Krathak medical students who had hidden their interest in healing for years. Admiral Walsh stood on the observation deck, watching shuttles move between the ship and the surface. Each one carried medical supplies and treatment equipment. Beside her stood Kraz, now the official liaison between Earth and the Krathak government. "Another 1,000 cured today," Kraz said, his voice full of wonder. "My people are learning to trust healers again." "It will take time," Walsh replied. 300 years of fear doesn't disappear overnight." On the planet below, the changes were already visible. Krathak warriors who had once attacked hospitals now stood guard over medical clinics. Their genetic illness was being cured, and with it their hatred of medical care was fading. Chief Medical Officer Daniel Wright entered the observation deck, carrying a tablet with the latest reports. "The first Krathak Medical School has opened," he announced. "They had over 1,000 applications in the first hour." Walsh smiled. The same fierce dedication that had made the Krathak terrible enemies now made them passionate students. They approached medical training with the same intensity they had once given to warfare. "The New Haven Memorial Hospital is ready to open," Daniel continued. "The Krathak asked to send some of their medical students there for training." The new hospital on New Haven was larger than the one that had been destroyed. It stood as both a memorial to those who had died and a symbol of the changes their deaths had brought about. Dr. Susan Martinez's name was carved above the main entrance. "Our leaders have made a decision," Kraz said suddenly. "We wish to sign the Interstellar Medical Protection Treaty." Not just sign it. We want to help enforce it." Walsh turned to him in surprise. The Krathak were asking to join the very system they had once violated. Their warrior ships would now protect medical facilities instead of attacking them. "There's more," Kraz continued. "We are converting our largest warship into a hospital ship. We wish to name it the Martines, in honor of the doctor who died protecting her patients." Daniel looked up from his tablet, his eyes bright. She would have liked that. Using a weapon of war to heal people. A flash of light caught their attention. Below, the New Haven Memorial Hospital was lighting up for the first time. Its medical cross glowed bright against the darkening sky, a beacon of hope visible from orbit. "Message from Earth Command," the ship's AI announced. "The Interstellar Medical Protection Treaty has been updated. The Krathak have been accepted as full members." Walsh nodded. "Send word to all ships. The mission is complete. Earth's medical facilities are now safer than ever." As she spoke, a Krathak ship passed by the observation window. Its hull had been painted white, marked with both medical symbols and traditional Krathak warrior crests. It was their way of showing that strength and healing could exist together. "My grandfather used to tell stories," Kraz said quietly, "about a time when our people were not afraid to heal, when we understood that caring for others made us stronger, not weaker. Thanks to Earth, those days have returned." The sun set over New Haven, casting long shadows across the new hospital. Inside, human and Krathak doctors worked side by side. The attack that had been meant to destroy Earth's medical service had instead made it stronger. Dr. Martinez's final message had been proven true. Earth protected its healers, and in doing so, had changed an enemy into an ally. In the end, it wasn't weapons or warriors that had won the war. It was the simple truth that real strength lies not in the ability to harm, but in the courage to heal.